Uh-oh, he's back. Alright, Dakota here, catching up on some more album reviews that I missed while I was on my mission. It's time for another review that's quite old at this point. Brad, Tristan, Connor, and James, the Vamps. Yet another pop rock teen group of guys sensation that's gracing us from somewhere outside of the US. We have your 5 Seconds of Summer, we have your One Direction, and we have the Vamps. That seems to be the big three. Well, at least it was a year ago, almost, when this project came out. But the Vamps, a pop and pop rock group who I really enjoyed their debut album, Meet the Vamps, that came out in the last couple months of December, or the last couple months of 2014, excuse me. I caught that project a couple months late, but really enjoyed it. Really started liking the Vamps. I really liked their approach to pop and pop rock. Their funness and their accessibility. So this album came out last year, got excited for it, didn't have the chance to get it until I came home a few months ago and purchased the album about a month ago. And the boys let me down big time on this one. To say that this album is a little bit, incohesive, that's a fair assessment. Something has happened. The boys, even though they think they're taking steps forward and evolving and progressing their sound is what that vibe they're giving off, that seems to be kind of their spirit and their feel on this project. I can tell you that they've done nothing but very stereotypical, very cliche things for the genre they're in, and have actually degressed a little bit. It's almost as if their management and the people at their label went, hold on. Now your first album, that didn't sound commercial and cliche enough, so we're gonna make up for what we missed on the first album and just up the ante on your second release. Okay, this album kicks off with the title track, Wake Up, which in all actuality isn't a horrible song. It's the only single that I heard off of this album before, prior to any other songs. And it's not bad. It's a little louder than their usual stuff. It's a little bit more synthetic. There's not as much organic instrumentation on this. There's some interesting synthesizers that haven't come into play really before on their music. They've had some accented keys, some accented pianos, but the synth really kind of dominates the counter melody on this one, which we'll get to that in a second. But it wasn't a bad way to start off the album. And then it goes into the second track, which I believe is called Rest Your Love. And it wasn't bad. It had some nice kind of 80s, again, that 80s nostalgia that's been incredibly popular for the past 9 or 10 months in music. Nice kind of new wave 80s pop influenced. Really like the filter on the guitars, really like the mid-tempo beat on this. Connor sounding really good when he comes in on the pre-chorus, and you know where to find me. Sounded good, okay? Was enjoying the album so far. But then, boo-boo. But then, it got the Volcano. Very few songs in life make me do a literal cringe. This song, Volcano, makes me wish I was inside of a volcano, so I didn't have to listen to all the train wreckness that is happening on this song. First of all, let's start with the song being louder than the previous two tracks. Okay, we've got a couple of mastering issues here. This song just starts loud and rowdy and anthemic, but not like a good anthemic. It's just got so many, as I said, cliches and stupid, stereotypical, overly done pop things. We have Connor screaming his lungs out on the chorus, starting off the track, and it comes out of nowhere. It just starts and hits you in the face. We have strings in the background. We have the little minor keyboard, I believe I hear under there in the background, and then it goes into a string synth club beat with somebody, I don't know who, a sad, pathetic soul. doing a pop rap verse to start this thing off. And then it goes into that chorus again with the strings and the synths. And while Connor sounds good, screaming his lungs out when he says, Volcano! It sounds way better than that. While that sounds good and kind of like, yeah, like edgy and rocky, when it goes into that club rock string hip hop beat with the sampled vocals being pitch shifted, it embodies every popular sound since 2011 and puts it on one track as this Frankenstein crap song that literally makes me sick to my stomach and just makes me question the whole existence of everything. Okay, whew, now that I've got that off my bosom, let me get on to the next song on Here a Million Words, which is a nice kind of piano ballad. Really, you know, this album has kind of a rocky middle section. The first two tracks are okay, and then there's just a chunk where things get weird and awkward and experimental. And the song I Found a Girl, where the guys are talking about, oh, I found a girl, but she doesn't like guys, and she's into girls, and you fell in love with a lesbian is what they're talking about, which I don't want to hear. I don't want to buy this album and then hear about lesbians turning you down. I think it could have been done. It could have been done in a creative way. This is maybe something for more of a band that's a little bit more out there, but with a band that's just kind of this, you know, very middle of the road, safe pop rock band. I don't want to hear it on this track. And let me speak on the whole synthesizer counter melody issue, which was an issue, not necessarily an issue in the first track, but it reoccurs a lot on this album. The Vamps, as I said before, didn't really use these brash and sharp, kind of Nintendo-sounding synths on their last album, but they do on this one. And what it seems to me is it's almost like when you got a toy for Christmas and you're really excited about that toy and you used it for like 2 days in a really small condensed period of time, and that's kind of what happened here. They got this new synthesizer sound, they tried it out on the first track, and they liked it so much, switched it up a little bit here and there, and used it over and over and over throughout various songs on this album, and it was just too much. It honestly got annoying. Like, you know, I think, you know, there's 3 or 4 tracks in a row. I think it's like tracks 5 through 9 or 5 through 8 or something like that. They have this distorted, video gamey, interesting sounding synthesizer on here. It's on Windmills, it's on I Found a Girl, it's on Wake Up, and it's too much. Give me 2 or 3, maybe 3 with this. But for half the album, man, y'all got too excited, and it became oversaturated, and I didn't like it. But I want to say, toward the back half of this album, it picks up my attention again, and it gets a little bit more tolerable. The song Be With You, while it's not incredibly, you know, anything special, it has that synth, again, as we mentioned, that's very just, there. It's not a bad track. Be With You is okay, but when it gets into Cheater, I really like Cheater. I enjoy the very distorted bass coming through on here that kind of slides up into some higher notes and then goes back down into a root note. It's very, very nice. It's a good groove. The song has a very good groove. You know, the guy's talking about, oh, hey, like, you know, let me tell you about your boyfriend. He's got another girlfriend. Just thought you should know. The song Stolen Moments isn't too bad, but really the highlight for me on this album, surprisingly, was the song Boy Without a Car. Now, let me say, aside from maybe A Million Words, this is the track that mostly resembles stuff from their last project. This is more of a Vamps sound. It does kind of remind me of something off the Meet the Vamps record, except it's a little bit more melodic, it's just a little bit more mature, but, you know, the theme, the imagery, the concept, the delivery is all there. It has that romance that their first album had. I really like the guitars on this. It gives kind of a it's a pop punky vibe. It's kind of a pop punk song, but the way the guitars are played on here, it really kind of sounds like an old Cars sound. You know, and I really enjoy it, and I love the way that Connor sounds singing the verses on this. Just kind of he has a very unique voice that is unlike anything that is out there right now in his field, and I enjoy him. And this is where he's true to form to himself on this track, more so than the rest of the album. You know, this is an interesting sophomore release. You know, it's very interesting, man. They just went from 0 to 60 and kind of, you know, not in a good way, not like a speed off in a Jaguar look cool kind of way, and more like a 0 to 60 like in an old Dodge Neon, but they were crash test dummies and they hit the wall with some of these songs and just kind of bounced around and looked stupid. I don't know why that made me laugh. But it was interesting, you know, and it was probably the biggest letdown that I've heard, to be honest. I think the Vamps tried to be mature and tried to step their game up and kind of put themselves out of the bracket that a lot of people place them in, even though I don't. And what happened is they overcompensated. So overall on this album, I'm feeling just an even D, which pains me to say because the first album to me was at least a B. But yeah, Vamps, wake up. I think they kind of need to wake up and go back to the drawing board a little bit on this. I'm curious to see where they'll go from here. If it's more of this, then let's just don't and you know, never say we did. But yeah, that's it, guys. Hope you are enjoying the reviews with the new camera. Hope you're enjoying the new setup. It's still getting there, still working on it. It's good. Look, it's looking a little bit better. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, there. It's getting cleaner. But yeah. Anywho, but that's all I got to say on that, and more videos to come. So hope everyone has a wonderful day.